Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Bible Over a Beer. I am Randy.
And I am, this week, Steve.
Hey, clink.
Clink,
We got
cheers.
it right this time.
Oh, there we go.
Thanks for joining.
Yep. Welcome back now.
Second Chronicles, chapters 19 through 36. We're doing our new format, which if you watched our first video, Second Chronicles, chapters 1 through 18. Steve explained that we are now doing more of a summary type of a format rather than going chapter, and trying to be too teachy.
Yeah.
I think it worked out really well. Made the video a little bit shorter, and you're reading anyways, so we don't need to have so much. Plus, Chronicles is, we've already, it's been in Kings. We read about Chronicles, we read about the Kings. This is just more of a, it's less detail and just more of an overview of the Kings.
Yeah, I've got an interesting thing on that when we get into our discussion. But yeah, the nice thing about is again, we're not teachers, and we felt like we were trying to teach, and it's like, wait, we're not qualified to do that. We're reading this. Yeah. Hopefully, you're reading with us. That's the whole point of that. So.
I don't think I wanted to be a teacher. It's just that I'm a horrible note taker. I end up writing almost
no.
word
You're doing
for
a
word,
great job.
Everything. I might as well just like have read it word for word because that's what I felt like I was doing.
Well, and that's part of the way I want to paraphrase it because I had a friend that said that I don't have to read it. You're kind of just telling us everything. I'm like,
right.
That's and I'm going to mention Anand. No, you have to read along with us.
That's right. So. Read. And, again, we've been over this. These are the kings. Some good, some bad. Some started out good and went bad. There's one that actually started out bad and went good.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to hit just a keynote on each, kind of like what they were known for or what they did that made them bad or whatever,
You're going to paraphrase.
And we're going to start off with chapter 19. It's Jehoshaphat. What did Jehoshaphat do? What was he known for? He established courts throughout Judah, and he appointed judges. Now, this is very important because any disputes, and we read about this before, judges. I mean, he appointed the judges, and God was with these judges.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, this was obviously, I guess when I read that, I'm wondering, does the person have free will then to make, or is God just sort of judging or helping them make the right decision? Because judges aren't perfect. We have judges in our system, and they're not perfect, and they make mistakes. So God is with them. Does that mean he's helping them?
He's possibly giving them guidance.
Right.
But as we learn and everything, and even from Samuel, we learn back in Samuel that when we went to Kings and Judges, that's when the demise of Israel started to slowly slip. So
help to give these judges some wisdom, hopefully.
Yeah, because as we'll learn, I mean, if they didn't have free will, they probably wouldn't take the path.
Yeah.
Take the paths they took.
You're right, they had free will, and, but it did say in the Bible that, these judges are appointed, and God is with them. Well, he's with us too, right? So
I mean, these judges are more like
priests
now, right? Is what, mostly.
That I couldn't tell you.
No.
I have no idea. We're going to have to look that up, or please tell us if you've read.
Well, I just had that, Jehoshaphat.
Are all the judges priests?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't recall. Yeah. I think they're part of the religious. It was no separation, whatever. So, but go ahead.
Going on with Jehoshaphat, there was an army from Edom that came to wage war against Judah. And remember, we're only talking about Judah at this point. Judah's kings, the kings of Judah. Jehoshaphat leads the people in seeking the Lord's help. They're powerless and they put their trust in God. And a prophet tells him that this is going to be, that the battle is his, meaning that he's going to win.
Yep.
And Judah's given a miraculous victory. So God is fighting his battle, basically. He's putting his trust in the Lord. He's asking for his help, and God is there for him.
Yep.
Yay! We're going to move on to Jehoram. Now, Steve, is he bad or is he good?
I'm going to say that he's, you're putting me, he is,
Yes.
I'm going to say he's bad.
All right, you win.
Yeah.
So why is he bad? Well, he murders his brother.
That's what.
Yeah. And through the prophet Elijah, God pronounces judgment on Jehoram. His reign ends tragically with a severe illness. So yeah, bad dude, killed his own brother. God is not with him. Ahaziah, bad or good?
He was bad.
Bad to the bone, basically. He aligned himself with Joram, the king of Israel. And is the king of Israel evil or bad?
Bad.
Yes, he is.
Bad.
God's not with him. So
Yeah.
you don't ally yourself with somebody who is bad, right? So right there, that's God does not look favorably upon that. Ahaziah's downfall comes when Jehu, anointed by God to destroy the house of Ahab, kills him and his relatives. And this allows is it his mother or stepmother? Athaliah?
Athaliah.
Queen Regent. She seizes the throne, leading to a dark period for Judah.
That would be. Yeah, I'm not certain. It's the mother of his.
Yeah.
Their mothers, apparently.
It is their mother. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a stepmother or a mother. And I think there was a lot more detail about her in Kings that we had read.
Yes.
But anyways, she did not do a good job. Jehoiada, the priest, takes action to end Athaliah's wicked reign. He makes a covenant with the military and crowns young Joash, the surviving heir of David's line, as king of the temple, king in the temple. And poor Athaliah, what happens to her? Jehoiada orders her execution as she is slain.
She's bye-bye.
Yeah.
Jehoiada.
Yep.
Jehoiada.
So that is, now we have Joash in power. Joash is how do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Good than bad. Mostly good.
Yep.
He repairs the temple. But after Jehoiada's death, Joash abandons the Lord and embraces idolatry. Idolatry?
I
I want to say adultery.
It's
That's
adultery,
not right.
idolatry.
But it's worshipping of idols
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that. And he even orders the stoning of Zechariah, Jehoiada's son.
which was bizarre.
Yeah, very bizarre. I mean, why do that? And he's eventually assassinated by his own officials. So I said he was mostly good. Doesn't sound mostly
There's
good,
a pattern.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because he started out good. They start out with faith and then they lose faith. Amaziah, he is a bad dude. He executes his father's murderers but spares their children. Now that I actually like, because we've read about this before, where it's, you don't punish the children for the sins of the father.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he at least had that going for him.
Except for, I think, Jehu, in the we read, was punishing everybody.
Yeah, right,
So-
exactly.
So
He goes on to wage a victorious war against Edom, but adapts the gods of Edom, which leads to his downfall. Why would you do that? You go to war with them, but then you adopt their gods. Amaziah disregards a warning from a prophet, and he taunts the king of Israel, leading to a disastrous defeat for Judah. His people conspire against him, and he's eventually killed. Amaziah. Uzziah? How's that?
yes,
Uzziah.
Uzziah.
Good than bad. Initially follows the Lord, and his reign is prosperous. This is how he starts out. However, pride leads to his downfall. He
Does it?
unlawfully burns incense in the temple, and when confronted by priests, he becomes enraged. The Lord strikes him with leprosy, and he lives in isolation until his death.
Yep. No messing around.
Prideful. Pride brought him down. Uzziah. Then we have Jotham, who is good. And we seem to have we're going to get into a point here where we go good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. I think that was kind of
then
interesting.
it's no longer any
Yeah,
good. So.
especially since we have father and son.
Yeah.
Father and son. You would think that son learns from the father.
Yes.
But in this case, as we're getting into this, I don't know. They alternate. So we have Jotham. And he is good. He strengthens the kingdom. He builds fortifications for the cities, and he defeats the Ammonites. Though Jotham is faithful, the people continue in corruption. Is he not a good leader? He's faithful. He's in God's favor. But why are the people not following him? I don't know.
Do not know. Well, I have suspicions, but
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Ahaz.
Ahaz.
Bad. Engaged in idol worship and even child sacrifice. Now, what would bring that on?
Well,
Why?
yeah. Well, like I said, we'll discuss that. Yes.
His dad, Jotham, was good.
Yeah.
Ahaz is raised by Jotham, and then he grows up and says, you know what? I think we'll start sacrificing children. So consequently, Judah suffers defeat at the hands of the Armenians and the Israelites. God is not with somebody that commits child sacrifice. That should be obvious, but, whatever. Hezekiah, now he's good. He immediately reopens and repairs the temples. Hezekiah gathers the Levites and priests, urging them to purify themselves and the temple. They celebrate a Passover, and the people experience a revival in their relationship with God. Sounds like a good dude. He did good.
Yes.
He goes on to invite all of Israel and Judah to celebrate the Passover in Jerusalem. This Passover is especially significant because it represents the reunification of the people in worshiping of the long period of apostasy. And that's a long period of that abandonment of the faith.
Yes. Yep.
So it's a great Passover that came about following the laws of Moses. Hezekiah continues his religious reforms by organizing the priests and Levites into division for service in the temple. Under his leadership, the nations experienced revival and prosperity. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Assyria's king, Sennacherib.
Sennacherib. I'm not sure how to say that one. That's a tough one.
Uh-huh. He invades Judah, and Hezekiah prepares by fortifying the cities and encouraging the people to trust in the Lord. Sennacherib.
Sennacherib.
I say it different every time. He taunts and blasphemes against God. But Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah pray for deliverance. God sends an angel who destroys Assyrian army. Hezekiah also falls ill, but prays to God and is healed. Totally put his faith in this battle into the Lord. And the Lord fights the battle for him. Manasseh. Bad, then good. We don't read that very often. Bad and good. Bad, then good. He leads Judah into deep idol worship and wickedness. His evil actions provoke God's anger. Eventually, the Assyrians capture him, and in his distress, what does he do? He humbly seeks God's mercy. He turns to the Lord in his down and out.
Yep.
Messiah is restored to his throne. He then undertakes reforms, removing idols, and restores the worship of the Lord.
Said Messiah, Manasseh.
He learned. It's one of the few that actually learned. I love that. I wish there was more of him. Josiah.
Well, didn't he have Amon?
Well, if we did, you better go ahead and read about it because I don't have it.
He just, another bad one. So I'm figuring Manasseh's son, Amon. Sorry.
I skipped somebody?
Just one of the kings. Just a king.
All
just
right.
a bad king. And another evil Judah king, which, yeah.
Not good.
But
Josiah is good, though.
Yes, he is.
He undertakes a campaign to purge Judah of idol worship and of rebuilding the temple. During the restoration, the Book of Laws is discovered. Excuse me. Josiah is deeply moved by the words of the law and renews the covenant with the Lord. He leads the people in prosperity.
Yep.
That's pretty significant finding.
Oh, yeah.
Where was that book hidden?
Apparently it was inside the house of God.
Just got put on a shelf and forgotten.
Yeah.
Josiah orchestrates one of the most magnificent Passover celebrations in Israel's history. The priests and the Levites serve faithfully, and the people participate with great enthusiasm. The fall of Jerusalem. Oh, you know what, though? I'm going to go on a little bit more there. Go just a little bit more there.
You do that.
Josiah's life ends tragically in a battle against the Pharaoh Necho of Egypt. Despite Necho's warning that God was with him. Now, when I first read that, I was like, when he said God is with him, I thought he meant God is with him, meaning
Within Necho, yeah.
within Josiah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I don't know. But anyways, he reminds Necho, I thought he meant like he was reminding Josiah that God is with him, but he's reminding Josiah that God is with
yeah.
him. So why is God with him? Well, Necho was going to battle, and it had nothing to do with Josiah.
Correct.
And Josiah decided to butt his nose into it for whatever reason. And he engages in this battle, and he's fatally wounded. And he succumbed to his wounds, basically.
Yep.
So, we are at the end. How quickly this goes. The final of chapter 2, Chronicles, begins with the successions of kings. And there's like 4 of them here, and I can't say one of their names. Jehoahaz.
Jehoahaz.
Jehoiakim. Jehoiachin.
Well,
Zedekiah.
Zedekiah. Yeah, so We'll talk about it. Oh, sorry, he's
And
summarizing.
guess what? 4 of them, all bad.
Bad, man.
All right. The Babylonian threat grows. Nebuchadnezzar invades, destroys the temple, and takes the people into exile. And remember, this is how Chronicles ends. Back to Babylon, he takes the people. After 70 years, in fulfillment of Jeremiah's prophecy, Cyrus, king of Persia, decrees that the temple should be rebuilt, and the exiles are allowed to return to Jerusalem. This chapter pointedly closes the book of Chronicles 2, highlights both God's judgment and his enduring mercy. Yay.
Yes.
So that's it. That's the Kings. We read about them before in Kings. We did a review.
In Samuel.
What would you like to talk about, sir?
Well, a couple things. If you notice, the theme of that, like, we've read this. So I did do a lot of like searching, YouTubing, and tried to find reliable sources. So, but I noticed we didn't hear a lot about the good king. Well, not us. We didn't hear a lot about the Israel at
Right.
all. And then it intrigued me. Well, what's this about? It's a different perspective. There wasn't some details that were left out. Like, obviously in Chronicles, we didn't hear about mostly David's downfall, or his sins, right? It was all in a good light. And even but we discussed the last video about how he laid out all the plans for Solomon. So Solomon just had to kind of follow him.
Yeah.
So, according to some pastors that I YouTubed, this is the order in the books. They're in order. They're like right after Kings. They're all in order in our English version of the Bible. But in the Hebrew Bible, which is the Jewish Bible, they're not. This actually was after that, because it's the theme of it's telling the story. Everybody already knows because they read Kings, they read Samuel, they read the next 2 books we're going to get into, which is Ezra and Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Those all kind of talk about the exile. Well, this is post-exile. This is kind of paraphrasing. Hey, follow the Lord, and good things happen. You don't, bad things happen, which has been the whole theme we've seen throughout. So, I thought that I found that made sense. It was fascinating.
Yeah. You just said what I was going to say, which
Well,
the whole theme is. God has this ongoing offer of forgiveness. It's there on the table. It's
Doesn't matter what you
for
do.
you. Doesn't matter what you do. It's there. And we see this theme of people turning away from God, people coming back to God. And he's there. He's ready to forgive. You just have to ask. Just like the king that was bad and then went good, right? In his
Manasseh,
time of need. And you shouldn't always wait till your time of need, but in his time of need, he
Yeah.
reached out for God. He had the wisdom to realize, I can't do this on my own.
Yep. In like Josiah found the book. As soon as Josiah, he was good to begin with.
Yeah.
He's restoring and rebuilding the house of the Lord. In Hilkiah, his priest, finds the book and brings it to him, and he's humbled and tears his robe, and God finds that favor, and immediately, even though he was already doing good, this is the prophet had told him that, and I think it was Jehoiada, I keep saying Josiah, where he learns that because of, remember, they skip over a lot of the bad stuff or the time structure to this.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of they did good and they did bad, and they did bad for decades. So
That's something to remember, because we're reading through this king as if one came right after the other, and there was decades sometimes these people ruled.
many, and
Yeah.
and that's the point is you've forsaken me, you've given into the altar, in the bad stuff, the Baal worship, and ironically, kind of segue into today's time. That goes on today. We're hearing about it. It's all maybe a conspiracy because we have no proof of it. But you hear little videos about even our own governments worshiping these like Baal worshipers. And
Right.
in this
Yeah,
is
because actually, right, and I don't think I put it in here, but I did read, it said in the Bible that, during one of the wars, they conquered them, but then they took up their religion of
you just
Baal.
read that.
Yeah,
That
okay.
was
Yeah, like what?
well, okay, so a couple things.
Why?
So why was they felt that was these gods what gave these people power. So they found that they had hard time beating them. And this is just my opinion. I have no idea. So I'm thinking they succumbed to that and said, heck with it. But it was like Hezekiah's maybe. One of them that went to Joash, king of Israel, and remember the thistle we talked about? Wanted to meet face to face. And it wasn't even. Yeah, it was Israel, and actually was it Amon's or Manasseh's?
Well, and you talked about how much time sometimes goes by, right? Decades. I mean, some of these leaders are in power for a very short time. They end up being killed. Some are in there for decades, right? So you got to remember too that when they turn away from God, decades go by. So there's going to be generation or two that are not taught from their parents, right? About
they're falling away.
The laws of the Lord, and then all of a sudden it takes a leader to come around who's good that gets everybody back on track.
Well, and that was to your point about was he a good leader or not? Well, he was a good leader possibly one way, but not in bringing God's word back to him. And that's what Josiah did. Is he really brought the priest back, and he restored everything. And they went back to like the Deuteronomy and what they had to do and follow the rules of Moses in the book of Moses.
Right.
So
and today people's faith can waver by different things that are happening in their lives or whatever. And it's a lot of times when things are good that you're like, oh, I must be blessed, and all of a sudden something not so great is going on, and you think to yourself, that's when you lose faith, and it's like, no, that's when you should have more faith.
Well, we talked in our last video, in the first Chronicles part, or second Chronicles first video. Don't be prideful, no matter what. I mean, I'll just throw. Obviously there's Joe in my background. I'm a huge Penn State alumni, and I love Penn State. In Penn State wrestling, which I mean nobody watches, I do. Penn State won like the 11 out of the last 12 national titles, and all the guys that won the championship, all but like one of them gave glory to the God. Basically said this is just a step. I mean, it's nothing. This is just a step. It'll fade. It's all the God. That was in their moment of glory. They put aside their. They're excited and they won, but they give credit where credit's due. God gave them physical ability. They gave them everything to train hard and won, and it was so interesting to see. And then, it was pretty cool because one of my Penn State guys lost against another guy, but him and they both had their little headbands on saying Jesus, something. It's all Jesus.
Okay.
So it was pretty neat. And I did some research on this kid, and his name's escaped me right now. I apologize. Both of them are actually. It was the 184 pounders. His friend was from Penn State, but anyways. My whole point was they in good times they still gave glory to God, and it
could have been a time for them to be prideful, and they weren't.
Correct, because they didn't.
Aside.
Yeah, and that's what I love about motocross too. You see that. You see a lot of sports, football too. It got to the point where it was made fun of a little bit, and maybe it is, but a lot of outside of pro, because pro I don't watch anymore. But they did. I don't think God, honestly. He wants both sides to win, I guess. So I don't know if you can pray to win, but the point is just giving glory to God. And,
right.
And that's, I guess that is kind of, if we looked at what was interesting, there was a lot of things were interesting. The big thing, my interest is how you would either went bad like Manasseh and then went good. That was very interesting.
Actually, the football thing that you just brought up there, how they gave thanks to God, in chapter 20, Jehoshaphat's prayers and victories, basically. He's worshiping God brings blessings and success. Not his military skills, not his political skills. That's not it. It's putting your faith in the Lord. So that kind of ties into the whole football thing that you were just saying there.
But yeah, I mean, it's in good times and bad times. We discussed this in detail last video. Is you want to make sure to keep God in everything. Keep him because if you don't, you become prideful, and pride leads you, as we've read. And that's the interesting thing is I keep flipping through my papers trying to find a note, but in my notes it's been the theme throughout the whole Old Testament.
Right.
I mean, when you keep God in your sights, it happen. You know, good things happen. When you don't,
Right.
you know, it shows his vengeance, and maybe, and you know, I'm not certain if he's vengeance. Well, he's just not on your side, and what happens happens.
Well, if you're faithful to him, he's faithful to you.
Yep.
You gotta really remember that during down times in your life.
And I guess, I mean, that kind of ties up 3 and 4 of our, you know, summary, what our interests are. I mean, we kind of talked about our interest, and then what was the point? The point, and again, the takeaway, and this to me is what we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And we're moving on to, I guess, Ezra next, right?
Cool.
I believe, and it's
Exciting.
got, yeah, and we'll probably cover that whole book. It's, I believe, 10 chapters.
I think,
and,
yeah, we could do that easy.
Yeah, we just said that, but I haven't read. It could be.
I haven't
it
either,
could
but
be 100 verses long.
Maybe with our new format, though, we'll be able to.
Well, the big thing
Get it
is
all
to
in.
be able to me, staying focused on it, it was like, God, we read this, but I want to read
Yeah.
it because there's a reason why we're reading part of that. And then what put it in perspective for me, because again, the Bible for Dummies that I have, it kind of ends, it doesn't really give a lot on these 2 chapters. So it was going out
Right.
and looking at YouTubes and watching some of the videos, like the Bible Project. I really like the Bible Project.
Yeah, it's
if
great.
you watch that, they really do a good summary of what the books are about. And then some other guys were talking about just what it is. And what I read, that this was the last book.
Right.
And it was meant to, because Israel was exiled, right? Babylon came, and it wasn't until the Persian Empire came that Cyrus said, okay, God told me. And it's interesting that God told him. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe, share, I don't know if you can do all that on YouTube or not, but do it anyways.
Yeah, you can. Like,
and
subscribe,
comment.
share.
We'd love to hear from you. Anything you'd like to add. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Yeah, join the journey, man. We want you to. This is for us. You all come back now. You hear? Woohoo! I'm like.